Good morning. It's Saturday, January 27th. Thank you for joining me reading Granddaddy's Bible. This is chapter 34 of Exodus. The tables are renewed. All society with the Canaanites is forbid. Some precepts concerning the firstborn, the Sabbath, and other feasts. After 40 days fast, Moses returneth to the people with the commandments, and his face appearing horned with rays of light. He covereth it whensoever he speaketh to the people. And after this he said, Hew thee 2 tablets of stone, like unto the former, and I will write upon them the words which were in the tables, which thou brokest. And be ready in the morning, that thou mayest forthwith go up into Mount Sinai, and thou shalt stand with me upon the top of the mount. Let no man go up with thee, and let not any man be seen throughout all the mount. Neither let the oxen nor the sheep feed over against it. Then he cut out 2 tables of stone, such as had been before, and rising very early, he went up into the Mount Sinai, as the Lord had commanded him, carrying with him the tables. And when the Lord was come down in a cloud, Moses stood with him, calling upon the name of the Lord. And when he passed before him, he said, O the Lord God, merciful and gracious, patient and of much compassion and true, who keepest mercy unto thousands, who takest away iniquity and wickedness and sin, and no man of himself is innocent before thee, who renderest the iniquity of the fathers to the children, and to the grandchildren, and to the 3rd and 4th generation. And Moses, making haste, bowed down prostrate unto the earth, and adoring, said, If I have found grace in thy sight, O Lord, I beseech thee, that thou wilt go with us, for it is a stiff-necked people, and take away our iniquities and sin, and possess us. The Lord answered, I will make a covenant in the sight of all. I will do signs such as were never seen upon the earth, nor in any nations, that this people, in the midst of whom thou art, may see the terrible work of the Lord which I will do. Observe all things which this day I command thee. I myself will drive out before thy face the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Hethite, and the Pharisite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Beware thou never join in friendship with the inhabitants of that land, which may be thy ruin, but destroy their altars, break down their statues, and cut down their groves. Adore not any strange god. The Lord his name is jealous, and he is a jealous God. Make no covenant with the men of those countries, lest when they have committed fornication with their gods, and have adored their idols, some call thee to eat of the things sacrificed. Neither shalt thou take of their daughters a wife for thy son, lest after they themselves have committed fornication, they make thy sons also to commit fornication with their gods. Thou shalt not make to thyself any molten gods. Thou shalt keep the feast of the unleavened bread. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee in the time of the month of the new corn. For in the month of the springtime thou camest out from Egypt. All of the male kind that openeth the womb shall be mine. All of all beasts, both of oxen and of sheep, it shall be mine. The firstling of an ass's thou shalt be redeemed with a sheep. But if thou wilt not give a price for it, it shall be slain. The firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem, neither shalt thou appear before me empty. 6 days shalt thou work, the seventh day thou shalt cease to plow and reap. Thou shalt keep the feast of weeks with the firstfruits of the corn of thy wheat harvest, and the feast when the time of the year returneth, that all things are laid in. 3 times in the year all thy males shall appear in the sight of the Almighty Lord, the God of Israel. For when I have taken away the nations from thy face, and shall have enlarged thy borders, no man shall lie in wait against thy land, when thou shalt go up and appear in the sight of the Lord thy God thrice in a year. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice upon leaven, never shall there remain in the morning anything of the victim of the solemnity of the feast. The first of the fruits of thy ground thou shalt offer in the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not boil a kid in the milk of his dam. And the Lord said to Moses, Write these words, by which I have made a covenant both with thee and with Israel. And he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights, neither ate bread nor drank water, and he wrote upon the tables the 10 words of the covenant. And when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, he held the 2 tables of the testimony, and he knew not that his face was horned from the conversation of the Lord. And Aaron and the children of Israel, seeing the face of Moses horned, were afraid to come near. And being called by him, they returned, both Aaron and the rulers of the congregation. And after that he spoke to them. And all the children of Israel came to him, and he gave them in commandment all that he had heard of the Lord in Mount Sinai. And having done speaking, he put a veil upon his face. But when he went into the Lord and spoke with him, he took it away until he came forth. And then he spoke to the children of Israel all things that had been commanded him. And they saw that the face of Moses, when he came out, was horned, but he covered his face again, if at any time he spoke to them. Chapter 35. The Sabbath. Offerings for making the tabernacle. Bezaleel, and Eliab are called to the work. And all the multitude of the children of Israel being gathered together, he said to them, These are the things which the Lord hath commanded to be done. "6 days you shall do work. The 7th day shall be holy unto you, the Sabbath, and the rest of the Lord. He that shall do any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire in any of your habitations on the Sabbath day. And Moses said to all the assembly of the children of Israel, This is the word of the Lord hath commanded, saying, Set aside with you firstfruits to the Lord. Let every one that is willing and hath a ready heart offer them to the Lord gold and silver and brass, violet and purple and scarlet twice dyed, and the fine linen goat's hair, and ram skins dyed red and violet colored skins, setim wood, and oil to maintain lights, and to make ointment and most sweet incense, onyx stones and precious stones for the adoring of the ephod, and the rational, Whosoever of you is wise, let him come, and make that which the Lord hath commanded, to wit, the tabernacle and the roof thereof, and the cover and rings and the board work, with the oars and the pillars and the sockets, the ark and the staves, the proprietary and the veil that is drawn before it, the table with the bars and the vessels and the loaves of proposition, the candlestick to bear up the lights, the vessels thereof, and the lamps, and the oil for the nourishing of fires, the altar of incense, and the bars, and the oil of unction, and the incense of spices, the hanging at the door of the tabernacle, the altar of holocaust, and its gate of brass, with the bars and vessels thereof, the laver and its foot, the curtains of the court with the pillars and the sockets, the hanging of the doors of the entry, the pins of the tabernacle, and the court with their little cords, the vestments that are to be used in the ministry of the sanctuary, the vesture of Aaron the high priest, and of his sons, to do the office of priesthood to me, and all the multitude of the children of Israel going out from the presence of Moses, offered firstfruits to the Lord with most ready and devout mind, to make the work of the tabernacle of the testimony, whatsoever was necessary to the service and to the holy vestments. Both men and women gave bracelets and earrings and tablets. Every vessel of gold was set aside to be offered to the Lord. And if any man had violet and purple and scarlet twice dyed, fine linen and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, and the violet-colored skins, metal of silver and brass, they offered it to the Lord, and set in wood for diverse uses. The skillful women also gave such things as they had spun, violet, purple, and scarlet, and fine linen, and goat's hair, giving all of their own accord. But the princes offered onyx stones, and the precious stones for the ephod, and the rational, and spices and oil for the lights, and for the preparing of ointment, and to make the incense of most sweet savor. All, both men and women, with devout mind offered gifts, that the works might be done which the Lord had commanded by the hand of Moses. All the children of Israel dedicated voluntary offerings to the Lord. And Moses said to the children of Israel, Behold, the Lord hath called my name Bezaleel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and hath filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom and understanding and knowledge and all learning, to devise and to work in gold and silver and brass, and engraving stones, and in carpenter's work, whatsoever can be devised artificially. He hath given in his heart Eliab also, the son of Achisamech, of the tribe of Dan. Both of them he hath instructed with wisdom to do carpenter's work and tapestry, and embroidery in blue and purple and scarlet twice dyed, and fine linen, and to weave all things, and to invent all new things. Chapter 36. The offerings are delivered to the workmen. The curtains, coverings, boards, bars, veil, pillars, and hanging are made. Bezaleel, therefore, and Eliab, and every wise man to whom the Lord gave wisdom and understanding to know how to work artificially, made the things that are necessary for the uses of the sanctuary, and which the Lord commanded. And when Moses had called them, and every skillful man to whom the Lord had given wisdom, and such as their own accord had offered themselves to making of the work, he delivered all the offerings of the children of Israel unto them. And while they were earnest about the work, the people daily in the morning offered their vows. Whereupon the workmen, being constrained to come, said to Moses, The people offereth more than is necessary. Moses therefore commanded proclamation to be made by the crier's voice, Let neither man nor woman offer any more for the work of the sanctuary. And so they ceased from offering gifts, because the things that were offered did suffice, and were too much. And all the men that were wise of heart to accomplish the work of the tabernacle made 10 curtains of twisted fine linen, and violet and purple and scarlet twice dyed, with varied work and the art of embroidering. The length of one curtain was 28 cubits, and the breadth 4. All the curtains were the same size. And he joined 5 curtains one to another, and the other 5 he coupled one to another. He also made loops of violet in the edge of one curtain on both sides, and in the edge of the other curtain in like manner, that the loops might meet one against another, and might be joined each with the other. Whereupon also he cast 50 rings of gold, that might catch the loops of the curtains, that they might be made one tabernacle. He made also 11 curtains of goat's hair, to cover the roof of the tabernacle. One curtain was 30 cubits long, and 4 cubits broad, and one curtain was 30 cubits long, and 4 cubits broad, and all the curtains were made of one measure. 5 of which he joined apart, and the other 6 apart. And he made 50 loops in the edge of one curtain, and 50 in the edge of another curtain, that they might be joined one to another. And 50 buckles of brass, wherewith the roof might be knit together, that of all the curtains there might be made one covering. He made also a cover for the tabernacle of rams skins dyed red, and another cover over that of violet skins. He made also the boards of the tabernacle of shittim wood, standing. The length of one board was 10 cubits, and the breadth of 1 cubit and a half. There were 2 mortises throughout every board, that one might be joined to the other. And this manner he made for all the boards of the tabernacle, of which 20 were at the south side southward, with 40 sockets of silver. 2 sockets were put under one board on the 2 sides of the corners, where the mortises of the sides end in the corners. At that side also of the tabernacle that looketh toward the north, he made 20 boards, with 40 sockets of silver, 2 sockets for every board. But against the west, to wit, at the side of the tabernacle which looketh to the sea, he made 6 boards, and 2 others at each corner of the tabernacle behind, which were also joined from beneath to the top, and went together into one joint. Thus he did on both sides at the corners. So there were in all 8 boards, and they had 16 sockets of silver, to wit, 2 sockets under every board. He made also bars of shittim wood, 5 to hold together the boards of one side of the tabernacle, and 5 others to join together the boards of the other side, and besides these 5 other bars at the west side of the tabernacle towards the sea. He made also another bar that might come by the midst of the boards from corner to corner, and the board works themselves he overlaid with gold, casting for them sockets of silver, and their rings he made of gold, through which the bars might be drawn, and he covered the bars themselves with plates of gold. He made also a veil of violet, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twisted linen, varied and distinguished with embroidery, and 4 pillars of shittim wood, which with their heads he overlaid with gold, casting for them sockets of silver. He made also a hanging in the entry of the tabernacle of violet, purple, scarlet, and fine twisted linen, with the work of an embroiderer, and 5 pillars with their heads, which he covered with gold, and their sockets he cast of brass. Chapter 37. Bezaleel maketh the ark, the proprietary, and cherubims, the table, the candlestick, the lamps, and the altar of incense, and compoundeth the incense. And Bezaleel made also the ark of shittim wood. It was 2 cubits and a half in length, and a cubit and a half in breadth, and the height was 1 cubit and a half. And he overlaid it with the purest gold within and without. He made to it a crown of gold round about, casting 4 rings of gold at the 4 corners thereof, 2 rings in one side, and 2 in the other. And he made bars of shittim wood, which he overlaid with gold, and he put them into the rings that were at the sides of the ark to carry it. He made also the proprietary, that is the oracle of the purest gold, 2 cubits and a half in length, and a cubit and a half in breadth. 2 cherubims also of beaten gold, which he set on the 2 sides of the proprietary, 1 cherub in the top, of one side, and the other cherub in the top of the other side, 2 cherubims at the 2 ends of the proprietary, spreading their wings and covering the proprietary, and looking one towards the other, and towards it. He made also the table of setim wood, in length 2 cubits, and in breadth 1 cubit, and in height it was 1.5 cubits. And he overlaid it with the finest gold, and he made to it a golden ledge round about. And to the ledge itself he made a polished crown of gold, of 4 fingers breadth, and upon the same other golden crown. And he cast 4 rings of gold, which he put in the 4 corners at each foot of the table, over against the crown. 4 corners of each foot of the table over against the crown. And he put the bars into them, that the table might be carried. And the bars also themselves he made of setim wood, and overlaid them with gold. And the vessels were the diverse uses of the table, dishes, bowls, and cups, and censers of pure gold, wherein the libations are to be offered. He made also the candlestick of beaten work, of the finest gold, from the shaft whereof its branches, its cups, its bowls, and lilies came out, 6 on 2 sides, 3 branches on one side, and 3 on the other. 3 cups in manner of a nut on each branch, and bowls withal, and lilies, and 3 cups of the fashion of a nut in the other branch, and bowls withal, and lilies. The work of the 6 branches that went out from the shaft of the candlestick was equal, and in the shaft itself were 4 cups after the manner of a nut, and bowls withal at every one, and lilies, and bowls under 2 branches in 3 places, which together make 6 branches going out from one shaft. So both the bowls and the branches were of the same, all beaten work of the purest gold. He made also the 7 lamps with their snuffers, and the vessels where the snufflings were to be put out, of the purest gold. The candlestick with all the vessels thereof weighed 1 talent of gold. He made also the altar of incense of setim wood, being 1 cubit on every side, 4 square, and in height 2 cubits, from the corners of which went out horns. And he overlaid it with the purest gold, with its grate, and the sides, and the horns. And he made to it a crown of gold round about, and 2 golden rings under the crown at each side, that the bars might be put into them, and the altar be carried. And the bars themselves he made also of setim wood, and overlaid them with plates of gold. He compounded also the oil for the ointment of sanctification, and incense of the purest spices, according to the work of a perfumer. Chapter 38. He maketh the altar of holocaust, the brazen laver, the court with its pillars and hangings, the sum of what the people offered. He made also the altar of holocaust of setim wood, 5 cubits square, and 3 in height, the horns whereof went out from the corners, and he overlaid it with the plates of brass. And for the uses thereof he prepared diverse vessels of brass, cauldrons, tongs, flesh hooks, pot hooks, and firepans. And he made the grate thereof of brass in manner of a net, and under it, in the midst of the altar, a hearth, casting 4 rings at the top, at the 4 ends of the net at the top, and put in bars to carry it. And he made the bars of setim wood, and overlaid them with plates of brass. And he drew them through the rings that stood out in the sides of the altar, and the altar itself was not solid, but hollow, of boards and empty within. He made also the laver of brass, with the foot thereof, of the mirrors of the women that watched at the door of the tabernacle. He made also the court in the south side, whereof the hangings of fine twisted linen of 100 cubits, 20 pillars of brass, with their sockets, the heads of the pillars, and the whole graving of the ark of the work of silver. In like manner, at the north side of the hangings, the pillars and the sockets and heads of the pillars were of the same measure and work and metal. But on that side that looketh to the west, there were hangings of 50 cubits, 10 pillars of brass, with their sockets and the heads of the pillars, and all the gravings of the work of silver. Moreover, towards the east, they prepared hangings of 50 cubits, 15 cubits of which were on the side, with 3 pillars and their sockets. And on the other side, 4, between the two, he made the entry of the tabernacle. There were hangings equally of 15 cubits, and the 3 pillars as many sockets. All the hangings of the court were woven with twisted linen. The sockets of the pillars were brass, and their heads with all their gravings of silver. And he overlaid the pillars of the court also with silver. And he made the entry thereof an embroidered hanging of violet, purple, scarlet, and fine twisted linen, that was 20 cubits long, and 5 cubits high, according to the measure of all the hangings of the court. And the pillars in the entry were 4 with sockets of brass, and their heads engravings of silver. The pins also of the tabernacle and of the court round about he made of brass. These are the instruments of the tabernacle of the testimony, which were counted according to the commandment of Moses in the ceremonies of the Levites, by the hand of Ithamar, son of Aaron, the priest, which Bezaleel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, and of the tribe of Judah, had made as the Lord commanded by Moses, having for his companion Uliab, the son of Achizamech, of the tribe of Dan, who also was an excellent artificer in wood, and woodworker in tapestry and embroidery, in violet, purple, scarlet, and fine linen. All the gold that was spent in the work of the sanctuary, and that was offered in gifts, was 29 talents, and 730 sickles, according to the standard of the sanctuary. And it be offered by them that went to be numbered from 20 years old and upwards, of 603,550 men, able to bear arms. There were moreover 100 talents of silver, whereof were cast the sockets of the sanctuary, and of the entry where the veil hangeth. 100 sockets were made of 100 talents, 1 talent being reckoned for every socket. And of the 1,775 he made the heads of the pillars, which he also overlaid with silver. And there were offered of brass also 72,000 talents, and 400 sickles besides, of which were cast the sockets in the entry of the tabernacle of the testimony, and the altar of brass with the grate thereof, and all the vessels that belong to the use thereof, and the sockets of the court as well round as in the entry thereof, the pins of the tabernacle and of the court round about. This concludes our reading of Granddaddy's Bible for today. We'll start tomorrow with chapter 39. Thank you for joining me. Have a blessed day and wonderful end to week 4 of 2024. And I hope you have a wonderful church service or mass tomorrow. And enjoy your week and go out and speak the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ.